doing sports talk today. As always, we got a lot to cover, so let's get started. We got the NBA playoffs. We had last night Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals, Miami against Boston. Celtics evened up the series at one game apiece. Celtics won 127 to 102, getting back Marcus Smart and Al Horford definitely helped. They won by 25. Marcus Smart, 24 points, 12 assists, 9 rebounds. Big return game for him. Jimmy Butler, 29 points, 6 rebounds in the loss. So Boston ties up that series. Tonight, Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. Dallas Mavericks against the Golden State Warriors at 9 o'clock on TNT. Golden State took Game 1, winning 112 to 87. Dallas definitely going to need a bounce back from Luka Doncic, who struggled a bit in Game 1, only putting up 20 points, which for him is not that great. We had some NBA news. The Los Angeles Lakers have named their finalists for head coaches. We don't know all of them, but we do know that former Portland Trailblazers coach Terry Stotts is a finalist. Prior to last year starting, he was fired after last season. He was there like 6 or 7 years. Did a pretty good job there, but didn't have the same success in the regular season that he did in the postseason. So then they moved on. He's a finalist for the job, as is Darvin Ham, who is an assistant coach for the Milwaukee Bucks, who has been a hot candidate for NBA head coach job for quite a while now. He is also a finalist for the job. I think LeBron's the coach there, but they're rolling with that. In the NHL, second round of the playoffs continued. Lightning beat the Panthers 2-1. Ross Colton scored a game-winning goal with 4 seconds left. 4 seconds left, he scored the game-winning goal to put the Lightning up 2-1. They win Game 2 2-1. They take a 2-0 series lead. In the second round series, Florida had the best record in the NHL this year, but Tampa's 2-time defending Stanley Cup champions. They're also a very good team. So Tampa wins 2-1. And Ross Colton's game winner in the last 4 seconds of the game. That was crazy. Blues beat the Avalanche 4-1 in Game 2. They tie that series up at 1. That's Colorado's first game they have lost this postseason. They swept Nashville in the first round, and they won Game 1 against St. Louis, so Colorado finally loses the game in the postseason. The St. Louis Blues tie up that series at 1 game apiece. So now we got Rangers Hurricanes Game 2 at 8 o'clock on ESPN. Hurricanes won Game 1, 2-1 in overtime. I said the other day that the Rangers' first 2 periods were the better team. They were up 1-0. They played really well defensively in Game 1, but they played pretty defense in Game 2, and it caused them to give up a late goal, and then they lose in overtime. So, I'm a big Rangers fan, so I'm obviously hoping the Rangers are able to even up the series. Carolina's a really good team. It's definitely a tough matchup for the Rangers and for any team with how good Carolina is. They're very, very disciplined. They're a very complete team. But Game 2 is tonight at 8. And at 10:30 on ESPN, Edmonton Oilers and the Calgary Flames, Game 2. Flames won the first game, 1-0 in a very high-scoring affair. It was 9-6 that game. So we'll see if we'll have another high-scoring affair there, or if it'll be more low-scoring. I mean, it can't get really any more higher scoring than that. 9-6 in the hockey game that was a crazy game. But that's what we got for the NHL playoffs. As for baseball, right now we got Arizona against the Chicago Cubs, 2-0 bottom in the second. Other games we got going on tonight, we got Cardinals leading the Pirates. They're playing the Pirates at 6:35. Braves and Marlins at 6:40. Dodgers and Phillies at 7:05. White Sox and Yankees at 7:05. Rays Orioles also at 7:05. At 7:07, Reds and Blue Jays. 7:10, Tigers and Guardians. Also Mariners and Red Sox at 7:10. 8:10, Rangers, Astros, Twins, Royals, and Nationals and Brewers. Now 9:38, Athletics and Angels, and 10:15, Padres and Giants. That's what's going on in the MLB today. And MLB games from last night, we had the Orioles over the Yankees 9-6. Walk-off home run in that game. Padres over the Phillies 2-0. Mets beat the Cardinals 7-6. P. Alonso walk-off 2-run homer, absolute bomb in the 10th inning. Reds over the Guardians 4-2. White Sox over the Royals 7-4. Red Sox over the Mariners 12-6. Trevor Story, monster game. 3 home runs, 7 RBIs for him in that game. Diamondbacks over the Cubs 3-1. And Astros over the Texas Rangers 5-1. So we had MLB. The PGA Championship is currently underway. Second round. Justin Thomas, who shot second straight 3-under. He is 600 par. He's currently the leader. By Roy McIlroy. He's at 5-under. Rosal Torres is at 5-under. You have Tom Hoge at 4-under. And you have followed by guys like Mito Pereira, Matt Kuchar, Cameron Smith. Guadalajara had a shot going into his tournament to kind of surprise some people and win. The guy who's already got a couple wins this year, including at the Players, was tied for third at the Masters. He's at 3-under par and is 3 off the lead. Tiger Woods shot 4-over par yesterday, so he showed yesterday. He said that he isn't in pain. His leg is not 100%. That he's definitely in some pain. So he's saying he's not 100%. He just recently teed off, so let's hope he at least makes the cut. At the Masters, he made the cut. He finished at 13 over, but it was really Saturday and Sunday where he struggled. But Tiger was saying after his rounding it yesterday that he actually drove the ball well. He just that his irons and his approach shots, he really struggled. He really didn't have any looks at birdie. He didn't put himself in a position even make any birdies. After his birdies on the first 2 holes, he really struggled. Jordan Spieth's putting for birdie, and that was not a good putt. He left it out there to the left. He should tap it for par, and he's upset with himself. Spieth up to a tough start. He's 3 over par right now. 9 shots off the lead. Zalatoris is punched out of the rough. He's only a shot back with Zalatoris now. He's a young guy. He's got kind of a funky swing, but he's a very good player. So that's golf. We had an interesting, I guess, back and forth conversation in college football. So, Nick Saban, of course, the legendary head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide football team, he was talking about NIL, name, image, and likeness, which of course we have in college sports. And he was saying that how he doesn't like the system, and he pointed out that Texas A&M last year had the number 1 recruiting class. Alabama was ranked number 2. And he said Texas A&M bought every single player. And then the Texas A&M head coach, Jimbo Fisher, who used to work for Nick Saban when Nick Saban was at LSU, Jimbo Fisher was his offensive coordinator and his quarterbacks coach. Those were 2 roles he held when he was there. I think from 2000 to 2004, he was there for 4 or 5 seasons. And then Jimbo Fisher, eventually, he went to be the head coach of Florida State for a while, and now he's currently at Texas A&M as their head coach. Jimbo Fisher absolutely went scorched earth on Nick Saban. Absolutely went off. Said it's really despicable. It's despicable that somebody can say things about someone. More importantly, 17-year-old kids. You're taking charge of 17-year-old kids and their families. They broke state laws. He said, we never bought anybody. No rules were broken. Nothing was done wrong. He said, it's despicable that a reputable head coach can come out and say this when he doesn't get his way, or things don't go his way. The narcissist in him doesn't allow those things to happen. So he called Nick Saban a narcissist. He said, some people think they're God. And he said, go dig into how God did his deal. You may find out about a lot of things that you don't want to know. We built him up to be the czar of football. Go dig into his past or anybody that's ever coached with him. You can find out anything you want to find out. Then he goes and says, I know the guy. I know him really well. It's amazing that we're allowed to do those things. He does know him very well. Like I said, he was an assistant coach under Nick Saban at one point. And then Nick Saban did apologize. He said he shouldn't have pointed people out. He said he just meant to, criticize the system. He doesn't think that it's the way the system is now, that he don't think it's sustainable. So, but he did say he shouldn't have pointed out certain teams such as Texas A&M. So that's the back and forth. Saban also went after Jackson State, which is coached by, of course, Deion Sanders, an NFL Hall of Famer. He said, read about it in the paper. Jackson State paid a guy $1 million last year that was really good, Division I player to come to the school, and they bragged about it. nobody did anything about it. Then he said these guys at Miami, they're going to play basketball for $400,000. He also took a shot at the University of Miami's basketball team. He said the guy tells you how he's doing it, but the NCAA can enforce their rule because it's not against the law. He was referring to when Jackson State, Travis Hunter was the number 2 recruit in the world, or one of the top recruits in the world that flipped from Florida State to Jackson State to play for Deion Sanders. And Sanders tweeted, "You best believe I'll just a lie Coach Saban told tomorrow. I was awakened by my son and sent me the article saying that we paid Travis Hunter $1 million to play at Jackson State. We as people don't have to pay our people to play with our people." And then Travis Hunter said, "I got $1 million, ? But my mom's still staying in a 3-bedroom house with 5 kids." And then for crying laughing emoji, so. And then Jimbo Fisher then said, "I don't cheat, I don't lie. If you did, my old man slapped me across the face." Maybe someone should have slapped Saban. So, Saban got absolutely destroyed by Jimbo Fisher, who he called out. He called out Texas A&M. And their head coach, Jimbo Fisher, who used to coach under Saban, called him out. Head coach of Jackson State, of course, NFL legend Deion Sanders called him out. And the player that he was referring to that he said Jackson State paid $1 million, Travis Hunter, kind of basically called him out. He said, "Well, if I got $1 million, I'm definitely living a lot below my means. My mother still lives in a 3-bedroom apartment with 5 kids." So he was basically, also calling out Nick Saban. So Saban got a lot of backlash for his comments, and I really wasn't a fan of his comments. Like, there's no way Nick Saban hasn't done the same thing. I read an article last year that said before the college football season even started, Nick Saban said that his quarterback, Bryce Young, had almost $1 million in endorsements before that season even started. And you're saying you're criticizing Texas A&M for quote-unquote buying players? You're criticizing Jackson State? Like, what does Nick Saban care about Jackson State? Besides that Deion Sanders is the head coach, they got nothing else going for them. They're not a Power 5 school. What does he care about Jackson State? And I believe it was Mel Tucker who said that he's the coach of Michigan State football. He was saying that, basically, like, people have to start complaining. They gotta get used to it and just adjust. And he's right. NIL is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. Although Saban's pointed out the process of it, how it's not sustainable, or like, I do agree with that. I do agree with that a little bit. I do think that, although I do like NIL, I think it's great for college football. I think it's great for the student athletes. There does need to be some sort of regulation with it, otherwise this could definitely get ugly. But Nick Saban doesn't have a right to go out and call out Texas A&M for quote unquote buying players. They didn't buy them. They were well within the rules. Unless they illegally paid a student athlete, you still can't. The athletes can mold up their name, image, and likeness, and I'm sure the teams can help them do that. But they still cannot, pay the players. They still can't give, the players boosters, can't do these under the table things and, help out their families to convince the players. Still can't do that. But as far as we know, Texas A&M has not done that. And I don't think Jimbo Fisher vehemently denied that Texas A&M did anything like that. So I didn't think he had a right to call them out when pretty much everyone's doing it, and I think including his school in Alabama. I mean, Bryce Young had probably had at least $1 million in endorsements last year. Nick Saban said that his quarterback Bryce Young had almost $1 million in endorsements. Right, but that was before last year's college football season even started, so he probably made over $1 million in endorsements. You're calling out Texas A&M for doing the same thing? Like, dude, that's so dumb. That's hypocritical. You know, Jackson State, you say you pay Travis Hunter $1 million? Well, Travis Hunter just said that his mother still lives in a 3-bedroom apartment with 5 children. So, and like, he was going to go Florida State, and he flipped to Jackson State because of Deion Sanders. It wasn't because they paid him. It was because he realized, you know what? Obviously, Florida State is might be a bigger school and has had more success in the past than Jackson State, but recently they've been struggling, and I have a chance now to play for Deion Sanders, who's one of the all-time great players in NFL history. So that's why he flipped. Talking about Miami's basketball team, like, dude, it's not even you're not even involved in that sport. Like, why do you care about Miami's basketball team? Their football team, okay, you may eventually play their football team, but their basketball team, what do you care about that, Nick? I mean, come on, dude. So I do stand with Jimbo Fisher. I thought it was great. That's going to go down. I think it's a legendary press conference. What Jimbo Fisher did kind of reminds me of Mike Gundy about 15 years ago, coach of Oklahoma State, when he defended his players. He's I'm a man. I'm 40 rants. Jimbo Fisher went scorched on Nick Saban for his comments that Texas A&M bought every player from their top ranked recruiting class last year. But that was an interesting story, very entertaining. And when it comes to NIL, these coaches just need to adjust. It's not going anywhere. Yes, there needs to be some regulations. They got to be careful with this stuff. But it's not going anywhere, and you can't say it's not that NIL is not good for college sports. The NCAA has made millions, if not billions of dollars off these student athletes for years. It's about time that the student athletes were able to make some money off of them. That's just a fact. We had some other NHL news. Dallas Stars head coach Rick Bowness is stepping down from his role as head coach of the Dallas Stars. Very surprising. He led the Dallas Stars to the playoffs this season. They were the 7th seed in the Western Conference. They lost in 7 games to the Calgary Flames in the first round. A couple of years ago, he led the Dallas Stars to the Stanley Cup final. And he is no longer going to be the head coach of the Dallas Stars. He is going to step down. Supposedly, his 2-year contract that he had originally signed was set to expire after the season. So he's going to step down. His assistants won't come back either. His assistants are Derek Laxdale, John Stevens, and Todd Nelson. They also will not return to the Dallas Stars next year. Rick Bowness said, "After careful consideration with my wife Judy, he feels best to step away and allow the organization the opportunity to pursue a different direction as a head coaching position. I'd like to thank all the passionate fans, all the dedicated staff for the support and hard work in my time here. It's been an honor for me and my family to represent the Stars in the city of Dallas." And he was 89, 62, and 25 there. He started as an assistant when Jim Montgomery got fired in December of 2019. He was promoted to interim head coach, and he led them to the Stanley Cup final during the COVID bubble season. They then gave him a 2-year contract after that to remain that full-time head coach. Last year they did not make the playoffs, but this year he was able to get to the playoffs and lost in 7 games, like I said, to the Calgary Flames in the first round. He's been around a while. He was the coach with the Winnipeg Jets for 2 seasons. He was with the Boston Bruins for a couple years. For 2 years, he was coach of Ottawa Senators for 5 seasons. Head coach of the Islanders for 3 seasons. Was the Coyotes for 2 seasons, and then the last 3 thing with Dallas. He's also an assistant He was an assistant in Winnipeg. Eventually became a head coach there. He also was an assistant in Boston. He was an assistant in Iowa before he got the head coach job there. Same thing with the Islanders. He then Phoenix Coyotes. He was also an assistant with the Vancouver Canucks and Tampa Bay Lightning. He's just one of 3 coaches in NHL history to have held a head coaching position in 5 different decades, along with 2 other Hall of Famers, Pat Quinn, and the all-time wins leader in NHL history, Scotty Bowman. So, interesting that he chose to step down. I'm not sure if it has something to do with his contract. His contract was set to expire. I always thought he was a pretty good coach. And I did a decent job there, but he will no longer coach the Dallas Stars. So Dallas is another team that now needs a coach. Teams that need a head coach. The Dallas Stars, of course, because Rick Bowness just stepped down. The Detroit Red Wings fired Jeff Blashill. So they need a new head coach. The Philadelphia Flyers need a new head coach. The interim head coach Mike Yeo is not brought back. They had a tough year. The Vegas Golden Knights fired Pierre DeBoer. They need a head coach. And the Winnipeg Jets also need a head coach. Their head coach Paul Maurice stepped down during the season. Of course, the New York Islanders fired Barry Trotz about a week ago, but since then they have promoted their assistant coach, Lane Lambert, to be their next head coach. There's some big names out there. Obviously, Barry Trotz, probably the biggest one of the greatest head coaches in NHL history. He's a really good coach. Pierre DeBoer had some success in Vegas. He's out there. Claude Julien is another guy, a veteran coach. He was in Boston a while. He was most recently in Montreal. So he's out there. Paul Maurice, I'm not sure if he's officially retired or not. He's been around a while. Was obviously had a long run with Winnipeg. Did a pretty good job there. He's out there. Alain Vigneault was fired earlier in the year by Philadelphia. Flyers were really struggling, but they did honestly worse without. I would at least wait until the end of the season. He's a really good coach. He was with the Rangers for a little bit. I always liked him with the Rangers. It was the right move to fire him. They needed a change, but I think he was a good coach there. He took them to the Stanley Cup, took Vancouver to the Stanley Cup. He's another good coach. Rick Tocchet, from coach in Arizona, he's out there. And John Tortorella is another guy. He's a guy who's not really for everyone because he's very intense. He preaches defense, but he's had a good career. He was with the Rangers for a while as well. I thought he did a pretty good job with the Rangers. And, short stint in Vancouver. He was with Columbus for a few years. He won a cup in Tampa, so he's a very experienced coach that's out there. Obviously, Mike Babcock's available, former Stanley Cup winner with Detroit. Also was in Toronto, but of course he's got some multiple ice issues. He's got the alleged verbal abuse of some players. Joe Quenneville was like third all time in wins, or second all time in wins. Won 3 cups in Chicago. Of course, was the head coach of the Blackhawks when they covered up that sexual assault scandal. So let's at least hope that he does not get a second opportunity. But there's a lot of big name head coaches out there. 5 jobs available. You never know if someone else will decide to make a move. But Dallas Stars now are looking for a new head coach. That's all I got today. For the next SmackDown tonight, all we have already confirmed is supposedly there's a tag team championship unification match between RK Bro and the Usos. They had confirmed it a while back, but then they scratched it. They changed the match to a 6-man tag at Backlash. We'll see if they go through with it this time, if they push to Hell in a Cell, if they scrap it again. I read something like a week or two ago that WWE is probably not going to do the match, so it'll be interesting to see what they do. But that's all I got for you guys today. For those of you on Colorcast who join me, Zach, Titans Talk, and Richie from PNR, thank you guys for joining me. Until tomorrow, so long, and have a great day.